Well, for those of you that are on, most of you probably know AJ. If you don't, he's a pretty remarkable guy. Spent quite a number of years out teaching at Pine Ridge, and now he is the pork and poultry dude out at Pine Ridge. He's got quite a following of people that stand in line for his products at the farmers market, and they can hardly wait for him to show up. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and roll into AJ Granelli's talking about are you going to talk about slaughtering chickens?
Yeah, I'm going to go over the whole process on what it looks like to process chickens at home. I'm going to go over kind of some equipment that I use and ways that you could apply it to home. It's a pretty information heavy presentation. I have a PowerPoint with some videos in there and also a good video that's about 3 minutes that really breaks down how to break down the chicken really, or how to gut it out and everything. So let's see.
All right.
Now.
All you, AJ.
Cool. Share screen. Oh, gotcha. All right, so I am AJ Granelli, owner of Homegrown Pork and Poultry. We operate mostly in Western South Dakota, and we grow chickens and turkeys and pigs out on pasture. So a little bit about me. I grew up in New York State, about an hour north of New York City, and I moved to South Dakota in 2013, and I became a teacher. In 2015, we bought 20 broiler chickens. I lived way out in the country, renting a house on a ranch that was very far off road. One winter, we got stuck out there like 9 days before we could break through the snow. So it was out there. And that summer, it took 6 of us 8 hours to process 20. Well, actually, it was 18. We lost 2 over the course of the summer. We were new chicken growers. But we had a good time. The next year, some of my friends, neighbors, they said we want to buy, so we doubled, and we've continued to double in size on the number of chickens. You can see over here that it took us 24 minutes per bird the first time that we ever did it, and now we run pretty smoothly, about 2 minutes 20 seconds. That's from live bird to freezer, packaged and everything. So efficiency is possible. A lot of people, when I ask them to come help process chicken days, they remember old days at grandma's house, putting a chicken over the stump and hitting it with an axe or something, which we can do better, I promise. So like I said, we grow pork, chicken, turkeys, and market garden. So what are we going to go over? Oh, here's a nice picture of one of our chickens. Kim Tilson from Etiquette Catering, she made this, and I think she does a pretty good job. So what are we going to go over today? I'm going to touch base on just preparing some equipment, materials, chemicals that you may want to have on hand. Then we're going to go over proper kill, how we do that. We're going to go over scalding and plucking, which is the biggest technical part. And then I'm going to show a video of slowly going through how to eviscerate and clean the chicken, which will be ready for cooking a whole chicken. After we eviscerate, we'll go through how you chill birds and how everything needs to get cleaned. Cleaning gizzards is another little piece that I put in there. People will throw out their gizzards all the time, but I think that if you cook up some good pasture-raised, homegrown gizzards, it's a game changer. And finally, we'll go over how we package at least and can easily be replicated at home, and as well as just some brief legalities on what you need to do to sell your chicken at home. So like I said, a lot of this is going to be kind of information and text heavy, and then I will show you pictures also, but I want to go over some information, and I believe that at a later date we'll have these presentations available if anybody wants to go back and look at this. So the major stations, we refer to it as stations because it's broken up just like that. We want to keep the stations separated and dirty and clean, just like any processing plant, whether you're doing on the back of pickup trucks at your house or you're in a full USDA scale place. While where an animal is killed is considered the dirty area, and then it's either skinned or plucked or whatever after that, and it's a clean area. So we want to keep those well separated. Nothing transfers back and forth between them. We want to be safe, right? We want to follow good food safety standards. We have found that any table space that you do have, raise it up, because if you're going to be there all day working with a knife, about 40 inches seems to be comfortable for everybody that comes to help. For all of our chicken processing knife work, so that we can use from kill to all eviscerating, we use 3.25 inch paring knives from Dexter. They sharpen well. They're good quality knives, probably like $20 a piece, and you can get them a whole bunch of places on the internet, or you might be able to find them at a kitchen store or something like that. We always have so surfaces we clean with chlorine-based bleaches, so Clorox or whatever bleach, and we dilute that. So we have spray. We can spray down. We always have rags and buckets and knives in case something like that drops or gets dirty or whatever. So we want to keep everything as clean as possible. We try to use no porous surfaces on anything. So even if you need to use a wooden table, cover it in a sheet of plastic or something like that. And this is a wet process, so their water needs to be available. If you are planning on reselling your chicken, I highly suggest you use food safe hoses. You can pick up like RV hoses and things like that will be food safe. And shade. When we first started doing this, like when first year, just for ourselves, me and my neighbors, the backyard, we're in the back of pickup trucks, out in the sun for 8 hours, and nobody likes to come back and help after that. So shade or indoors will make a big difference. The more you can make it comfortable for everybody, the quicker it'll all go. So this is just a picture of a turkey in a poultry crate, because I'm going to talk about transporting chickens next. This is a young turkey that was coming out of the brooder, and these poultry crates are real hard plastic. They stand up to beatings. So the morning of or the night before even that we are going to process our birds, we will catch them all. If you have birds that are ranging out much more, it's a lot easier. You probably know, if you own chickens, to catch birds at night. Make sure you take their feed away at least 16 hours before you slaughter. It keeps everything a lot cleaner, and you will be, if you don't, you'll be finding lots of poop. And also a big issue is the crop, which we'll get to all the parts of the bird in a little bit, but I'll explain again that the crop will be full, and it's where like kind of a pre-digestion happens before it moves down into through the esophagus into the stomach. So like I said, poultry crates are great for transport, but also we found that Cornish cross, you put them relatively tightly into the back of a pickup truck, and they will stay right there, so that it can be pulled up right to your kill site or something like that. And we've helped different people over the past couple of years process their birds as well, just teaching more and more people to do this. And the pickup truck seems to work great for a lot of people. A little note on any bruising or injuries. So you may see videos of chicken catching in like commercial houses, poultry houses, and it looks pretty rough. The chickens can be held by their legs, but you want to minimize flapping of the wings, that they're prone to bruising or breaking just before slaughter. And you did all this work to raise this chicken. Now you don't want it bruised up. If you do see bruises at some point, just want to touch on that. Recent bruises are going to have a red, bloody color in them. Typically the blood doesn't drain out of that after we kill. And bruises that are a little older, you will see in the carcass as they will start to green. Just like when people get a nasty bruise, it turns some weird colors. So that is how you know where an injury happened. The more birds you do, the better you get at handling and knowing how that's going to happen out. So example, some chickens right in the back of a pickup truck. I'm pretty sure that these chickens rode 20 miles like that. Someone was doing some chickens and put them right in the back of the truck. So that is an easy at-home way to do it. So now we have brought our chickens, we've caught them. They don't have any feed in them. They've excreted everything through. We need to kill the birds, obviously. We use kill cones to restrain the birds. If anyone has ever killed a chicken in their backyard, they do know that it runs around like crazy. It's kind of gross, but it's what happens with birds. We want them to stay tight. We don't want them to flop around. That could also bruise the meat. We don't want broken bones, things like that. I have seen people cut the bottom of 5-gallon buckets and make them into a cone. The bottom of the cone, or the small side, you want about 3 inches wide, up to about a foot on the top of the cone. We prefer round cones. We get stainless steel round cones. They'll last for years, and they're much easier to clean than homemade options. But the homemade options work totally well if you're doing a few birds a year. Another reason for round cones is we find that the flat back cones, the birds can back out once in a while, a little more common. And so if you're only doing 20 birds, it may not be a difference, but if we do a couple thousand and every 100 backs out, that's significantly more birds, that 20 birds that we're losing, you know what I mean? So we pull the bird straight down through. They really calm down in a second, and there are arteries just behind the ear. So you'll be able to find the ear as an opening. It's like a little circle, and you can usually feel around and feel the artery protruding out. So typically we just do one incision. You can do one on either side to just ensure that you make a good cut. But the idea is you don't want to sever the head. You want the heart to keep bleeding or to keep pumping so it bleeds out efficiently. It should take about 60 seconds for an average chicken to bleed out. Let's see, what else do we need to know about killing? So here's a diagram of where we want to cut. I know it's maybe a little gruesome, but I think that everybody here is interested in finding out of how to do this process. So on the top picture, you can see a line, and just below that line is where the ear would be. And you can see the diagram with the blood vessels. So we want to cut the jugular vein smoothly, one sharp cut, and the bird will drain out. So after we kill the bird and the blood is drained, we want to scald it. Why do we scald? We scald to loosen up the feathers. We want easy plucking. The plucking is going to be the most labor intensive portion, and we want to make that as easy as possible. 148 degrees is the ticket number. If you can figure out how to hold that as best as possible, the rest of the process will be much easier. Usually it takes about 60 to 75 seconds, depending on your setup. If you are holding birds by the feet and dunking them up and down by hand, you might be closer to the 75-second. We use a Ashley Sure Scald, which is a expensive piece of equipment now in a whole processing trailer that is set up as a poultry butchering plant. So we've come a long way from dunking the birds, but it still can be done, no problem. Let's see. So when do you know it's ready? I say the 60 to 75 seconds, but you know it's ready by being able to slightly pull out the end feathers on the end of the wings, the flight feathers. Even though chickens aren't flying very far, they're the big, thick feathers, or the end of the tail. So when those are the toughest feathers to pull, but they should be easy by the time the scald is right. So you want to get a nice, even scald. You want the water to get in to the skin, you know what I mean? So that's why we're kind of swishing it around. If you're dunking, or you'll see a quick video next on how our scalder works, which is pretty nifty. So this is the Ashley Sure Scald we now use in the trailer. We have a button. This was set to just rotate once around, but we have it automated on a timer. We push it, it goes for 62 seconds, and then we take the birds out. And you can see here the scalder on the left and our pluckers right there. So we talked about earlier that we want stations as close as possible. This one person can kill directly behind where we are, and then scald and pluck. So one person can do this job 6 birds at a time with our equipment now, taking a total of 3 steps between that. So that's really nice. So we've scalded. Now we need to pluck. If you are doing it by hand, which traditionally many chickens have been plucked by hand. So you get decent at it. It'll probably take you about 5 minutes with a good scald. As you progress and are doing more and more, wise investment along with a scalder is a plucker. We now use that fancy Pickwick scalder on the right, and it takes about 25 seconds and the bird comes out perfectly clean. The skin is peeled off the legs. Every single feather is off. So that is game changer. We want the bird to always stay wet. Oh, I forgot to mention, if anybody has any questions, please chat, use the chat, and I can definitely answer them. So we want the bird to stay wet. You can see on the scalder on the right there is like a faucet that sprays water. So as soon as that turns on, it sprays. The birds, they move around. The way this works is the bottom of the barrel spins in the clockwise direction, and the birds bounce around in there, and they're just rubber fingers that peel the wet feathers off. Works like a charm. Let's see, we got some questions here, chats. So 148 degrees for home butchering. Do you know how the smaller Kitchener type pluckers work? So they all work on the same principle of these rubber fingers. Years ago, we even had a drill attachment. So it went on an electric drill that had 3 or 5 fingers on it, and you'd run it up and down the back of the chicken or wherever. So it takes a little bit of time, but even the small ones, the issue with the small ones is you're probably just going to be able to do 1 chicken at a time. If you're not doing a lot, that is totally reasonable. So you want something that has enough horsepower to move that bottom ring with whatever weight you need to be putting in there, and pretty even fingers, but really they're all the same principle as long as it's spinning around. And the key is the scald more. So if you get the scald right, then plucking in any of the machines should be good. Let's see. Hope that answers your question, Sandra. Let's see. So now I'm going to show you a video on this, but I wanted to quickly go over the steps on evisceration. So good for a screenshot or something, or write down this list because this is the moves to make it happen right in. Let's see. So see if this video loads. I may have to switch over to. Here we go. So this is the trailer that I was talking about that we are now processing in. We are working to make this set at a permanent site and potentially offer USDA processing, but there's some steps that will take us to get there. So actually, Lisa, who did the traditional foods presentation this morning, is filming this. This was from earlier in the summer when we were doing some birds for someone. So you can see this is quite a nifty setup that we're in now. To the right is the cooler room. In through that little window all the way to the back behind Isaiah and Nick is where you saw the pictures of the plucker and the scalder. So,
AJ, we can't see the video.
Oh, you can't? Yikes.
Nope.
Move away. Let's see, new share.
I think you're stopping it if you.
There we go.
Okay. All right. So we got the video up. You see some birds hanging, everybody?
Yep.
All right. Thanks for the heads up. So like I was saying, there's a little window all the way to the back there, and that was the room with the plucker and the scalder. So we've got our crew that day, and this was just at the end. And once she turns around, I'll start my little presentation there. Livers, hearts, gizzards.
Here, stay here.
Hey, AJ, when you get a second, there's a question in the chat box too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'll working on getting up there. Somehow find it.
I want to encourage all the viewers to ask AJ questions. He's really he's learned a lot.
I'm having.
I'll read the question for you.
Thanks.
It's for home butchering. Do you know how the small Kitchener type pluckers work?
I'll pause the video for a sec as I guess it's finishing up. Yeah. So I discussed a little. I can write in the chat box when I get off the screen again. But they all are the same principle. As long as you can get a good scald, they all work, and the differences are going to be the weights that they can handle. So we can do 6 birds at a time, the small home ones that are at different farm stores and whatnot. You can probably do 1 at a time. So let's get back to our presentation. Does that answer the question, Cindy, I think?
Yeah, I think that was good.
Okay.
So I know Baumgar's carries pluckers. I've seen them there. I'm sure most places do.
Yep. Yeah, I've seen them at Baumgart's, probably at Runnings. There's one. And like I said, they are exactly the same principle. I'll go back to the plucker. So the bottom of the barrel will spin and the outsides are stationary, and they are all just different sizes. The better you can scald, the more success you will have with ever chicken plucking option you want. Something that I didn't touch on that a lot of people ask about also, in the scald water, do I put dish soap? So I think that it is kind of a myth that it helps at all, and actually most dish soap is not approved for direct food contact. So if you are going to use some dish soap like Dawn, you are not supposed to put on your food. So it's not necessary. The more exact you can keep your temperature, the better scald you'll get, and then you'll do better with plucking.
So AJ,
So,
can I ask a question?
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that question was brought on because I was reading some of the reviews. Some of the people were having trouble with like the skins coming off, which I'm assuming maybe they scalded too hot or too long. And then also, you know, like if you're just doing home butchering, you know, if you had heard any of the reviews on those smaller pluckers, you know, as far as time and if they actually really worked. very well. Other people were having trouble with like the birds getting destroyed in the pluckers. Again, I'm thinking it might be a scalding issue. Do you have any comments on that?
Yep, it's so definitely from our experience is the better we can scald, no matter what the pluckers, they're all similar principle. And so the biggest difference is the amount of weight that they can hold, whether it be one chicken or a small chicken to up to 6 or 8 chickens. You know what I mean? It's really the scald. But when you're breaking skin, typically the scald was too hot. If you have really small birds, you may have to drop a degree or two so the skin doesn't start to cook. But as soon as it does start to cook, it makes it really soft and pulls. So, we'll get broken bones also if it's sometimes too cold or too hot. It makes the feathers not loosen up and it pulls them in weird ways. Same with the legs; they don't slide the skin off the same. But the better you can do the scald, the easier all plucking will be. So if anybody wants to look at that video again, there's the YouTube address down there. It's chicken processing tutorial and can be found. And I think it's a pretty good way. I know that there's a bunch of YouTube videos out there, but if you're doing it the first time, you're trying to watch a few. And so our process is all just laid out here in this slide. Bird down, we remove head, we remove legs, tail gland gets opened up at the neck. We separate our esophagus, trachea, and the crop that we have empty because we took our feed out early. If it's full of feed, then it doesn't pull through the neck cavity, and you have to cut in between, and it just makes for extra steps. When you're doing a lot of birds, every time you add a few seconds to a bird, then it adds up over the day. So you want to do the job efficiently. I think there's no reason to have to make extra cuts. All the cuts are really small cuts. We rip with our hands as opposed to cutting in a lot of the places, just so that we don't risk breaking or rupturing anything. There's a little green gallbladder in there that I refer to in the video. It's a beautiful green if you're trying to make dye, but it's not something you want to spill all over your bird. It can be cleaned off, but sometimes it will leave a little bit of a tint on some skin or the meat. It is safe. It's just unsightly. We keep we keep feet, we keep legs, we keep necks, we keep hearts and livers, and we keep gizzards as well. So those are all parts that we take out, and the offal all gets composted with the feathers, and we're continually brooding chicks, so it's all composted under that too. All right, let's go next slide. If I can figure out how to get there. All right, so nope. Trying. I guess that could be the technical difficulty guy. Got it. So we need to chill this bird. We have it cleaned. We have it gutted out. It's a whole chicken. I'm not going to get into breaking down into parts today. Perhaps another time we can show joints on a chicken and break down, but home raised full chickens is a big step and a big accomplishment to get them in the freezer in the first place. So when you do your first 20 out there, be proud of yourself. It is a lot of steps to think about. Now back to the slide. We want to get under 40 degrees internal temperature within 4 hours. That is what the USDA tells us we need to do. And so we want to take that seriously. We don't want to get sick. We did all this work to grow these great chickens, and we don't want to ruin it. So it's really only about 2.5 minutes for us now, like I said, per chicken. So they're usually chilled in about 20 minutes in our walk-in cooler now. And similar to that, when we were using ice in large coolers, or we had food grade totes that would be filled up with several hundred pounds of ice or over the top of all chickens. Disinfecting anything, poultry is considered risky meat, right? We cook poultry to 160, 165 degrees as compared to red meat. We want to make sure that any bacteria we we neutralize. So we personally use acid solution, acetic acid, which is just vinegar. It is a approved disinfectant. So we have a dunk tank. Vinegar or acetic acid is not very volatile in the presence of large amount of organic material, as opposed to most poultry, which is sprayed with a bleach solution. I just don't want bleach on my chicken, so we don't use that. That's why we use a vinegar solution. So we get highly concentrated vinegar that if it was to touch our hands would burn, but we put it into a water mix to get about a 4% solution, and we dunk, and then we hang to go into chill. Now, if you're thinking that you are going to chill wet in a cooler to get down to temperature, or a big tub or something like that, typically I estimate 3 to 4 pounds of ice per chicken, or a half pound to 3/4 pound per pound of carcass weight. So if you know your chickens are going to be about 4 pounds, we want to get 10 chickens, 4 pounds. I did the math already, so I didn't have to think while I was nervous in the presentation. 20, 30 pounds of ice, and fill it up with cold water, because it'll get that temperature down really quick. We use a dry walk-in cooler. They're put onto racks with lots of airflow. So you can see chickens. This was a small processing day that we did 100 or so birds. Each one of those racks is 24. That fan blows 26-degree air, and it takes about a half an hour, 20 minutes to a half hour for the birds to be chilled down to about 35 degrees. When they're all chilled, then we clean up the whole place and reverse it for packaging. So I wanted to touch base on cleaning gizzards before we got into packaging. Gizzards are essentially an extension of the stomach. Birds will ingest rocks and other hard material, or anything that they can find. We found some chickens with porcupine quills in their gizzard this summer. So somewhere in the pasture, they picked up some porcupine quills, and they were using it in their gizzard to grind up any plant material that they picked up, or any grain. So the idea is we want to just split the muscle. It's a really firm muscle, and we're going to pry it open. There is going to be a white membrane, and then inside that, a yellow membrane. The yellow membrane is a coiling sac, like a mucus sort of hardened sac that keeps everything intact there and protects the muscle lining and wall of the gizzard. So I'm going to play this little video that gives a little bit of an overview of what we're doing. So it's tough to make a video of gizzard processing, but the idea is that it's going to get split open. So we dunk it into acetic acid, rinse again, and then package them up. So packaging, we use poultry shrink bags. They're available with a quick Google search from a few different places. I've gotten them from different companies. They seem to be all pretty much the same. You will learn fast that if you do not have your packaging water temperature up to at least 180 degrees, it's not going to look right. It'll keep the packaging soft, but we really want to tighten it up. Squeeze out whatever air you can. We use DeWalt hog ring pliers. They're C rings, 7/16 inch, to close up the bag, so we can bag 100 in 10 minutes or so. We submerge it fully, the chicken inside the bag, at around 6 seconds. Seems to be the magic number, and it sucks the chicken right up. Here in this picture, you can see we have a little rack after we take them off, little PVC rack that helps one person throw them on. And then to the right in the picture, you can see bags going right over. So it's just a little handy to keep everything moving along our processing line. The bags are then sealed up. Here in the top middle of that screen, you can see the little DeWalt hog clip pliers that we have. It holds a rung of, I think, 60 or 70 clips at a time. We dunked it, and now let's talk about what it takes to sell your chickens. So we operate under USDA Public Law 90-492. That is a federal law that says you can process chickens that you raised on your farm for sale as long as you follow a few steps. It needs to stay in the state that you processed or you raised and processed in. We need to label it properly. We need to make sure that that chicken was processed under sanitary conditions. There is no inspection process, but you through the state that needs to happen before you're doing it. But at any time, you can get your exemption revoked if something is found to be not in compliance, or I would think more than likely the way it would go down, someone would get sick, complain, then they'd come check out your facility and see what you're doing and give you either yes or no. So on the label, you need to make sure you have the name of the product, whether it's a whole chicken, whether it's legs, the quantity statement. So we package everything by weight. So make sure you have a certified scale in South Dakota. You can call the Office of Weights and Measurements, and the folks are really good there about making sure that you get a scale that is legal for selling based on weight. You can also label it as a numerical count, like 1 whole chicken or 3 whole chickens or a dozen feet, something like that. You need the date of processing. You need the contact of who or what company did the processing. You need safe handling instructions, which are keep refrigerator frozen. Poultry should be cooked to 165 degrees, whatever that may be. There's a few different options on safe handling instructions. And finally, you must have that it is processed under USDA PL 90-492 on your label. With that, you can sell at farmers market to end customers in South Dakota. You can sell to restaurants. Not every restaurant is filled about the idea. You are allowed to sell to anywhere that the end product is. You can sell if you are in the exemption between 1,000 and 20,000 birds. You can sell to grocery stores. If you are raising less than 1,000, it's a little bit different, where it'd be more of a commission situation, because you need under 1,000 birds is you need to sell directly to the final consumer. There is no middle opportunity. But 1,000 birds takes a little while to get to. There's a great article from SDSU Extension at that website. You can Google selling poultry at farmers market in South Dakota. It'll be the top link right there. And that goes over all the details and a lot more description on what all the means for labeling and processing. So here's some of our finished birds, shrink wrapped up. We got feet on the top and necks, and everything's nice and tight. These guys are all frozen. It makes a really presentable, nice, clean bird. So that is about what I have for my presentation, but I'm sure that there are questions, and feel free if there's something that you think of later, or even as you're preparing next spring or summer. I'm available to be found at different ways through Homegrown Pork and Poultry, and I love talking about all this. And I think that we can get lots and lots of people processing their chickens in their backyard. I think there is room for many small farmers to be raising chickens. It's a nice small niche without a ton of investment that anybody could do. So if there's any questions, let me know.
AJ, I've got a question. Where do you recommend people get their starting birds?
So however you can get them from a hatchery that's going to be closest to you. There's a few hatcheries in Minnesota. A lot there is. So I up until this year always got from a hatchery in Nebraska that was just a couple hours away, but I'm always looking for where I can get birds that have to travel the least.
Okay. Do you have any tricks that you can share on keeping those little chicks alive in their first few days? I know I do a molasses water mix. Do you do anything,
Mm-hmm.
anything different?
So I give them electrolyte. We use a fresh ground grain mix that we have milled and bagged down at the mill. It's like 30 miles from me. We don't want any fluctuation in temperature. As best we can do with that. Draft can really hurt baby chicks. Brooding is definitely the trickiest part. Once they get feathers, they're much tougher. But you will find that if you're not brooding really well for the first 2.5 weeks of their life, then you'll have issues later in their life. People will complain a lot about Cornish cross having heart attacks or leg issues. And I think that are problems coming out later from not brooding really well. We use what's called an Ohio brooder, and it's essentially like a big giant mother hen. And so it's a plywood box that's raised off of the ground a couple inches, and then there is some bulbs under there, just 125-watt bulbs, and we can brood 250 under each 4x4, and then they can get in and out from underneath that. We do up to 250 birds in a 9x9 area, and usually take them out onto grass on day 15. We grow, Sandra, to answer your question. So we do different batches throughout the summer, but for our general rule is we do 48 days this year, and we average like 3.98 carcass, that's pounds, on 48 days. Each bird gets 13 pounds of feed through its life, and it's graduated, so it's less in the beginning. And then we have markings in our buckets, so anybody that's feeding, we know how much that is. And there's a chart inside the barn that everybody knows what number tractor gets X amount of feed each day. But 13 pounds of feed over 48 days is what we do.
AJ, are you finding a good source of non-GMO feed?
In our area of Western South Dakota, I have not been able to source that yet. It would be, right now, it's still too cost prohibitive for us. But we, like this year, we went through almost 30,000 pounds of poultry feed between the chickens and the turkeys. So we're getting to a scale that it may make sense to get from a little bit farther. There is no organic farms close enough that I can kind of directly work with right now. We're always trying to improve that. We do use all stuff that is grown within 50 miles or so. So we have a pretty complete ration. We have millet and corn, the soybean meal, not necessarily from here, but I also have barley, oats, and sunflowers. So we have all that ground to make a 20% ration. I really like 20% from day one straight through. I don't use any starter or anything like that, but no, I haven't been able to source good GMO yet. That is reasonably priced.
And then how about your, I mean, what do you charge for like a whole chicken of that, your kind of standard weight?
Yeah.
Are you able
So
to make it,
we sell
make it okay?
chickens for $4.25 a pound, which even now is twice what you're going to see at the grocery store. Once you have had a chicken that actually is grown out on grass, it's a different product. So we think that it's definitely worth that value. You're not going to save money if you're just thinking chicken is whatever chicken by growing your own chickens in your backyard, but the health of the chicken matters a lot to us. There's a lot to be said about labeling requirements in this country, I think. And so you'll see free range, and that may still be a a barn of 100,000 chickens where there's a tiny little door where really only over their whole life 50 of those chickens made it outside. So there's not a lot of regulation. I think that the more we can know where our food is coming from, the better. Yes, we do turkeys. So the turkeys, and I'll tell you a little bit about how we grow the turkeys. They're in the brooder a little bit longer. Turkeys are definitely more finicky to brood than chickens. A lot of people say that turkeys are really dumb, but I think turkeys are a pretty smart bird. They don't come out of the egg with all the instincts that like a chicken would have. They need to learn by watching. So turkeys will figure out routines and locations a lot better, which is something interesting about turkeys. They're in the brooder for a while, then they go into tractors for a couple weeks until they're big enough that we don't have an issue with hawks and owls picking them up. So they're usually about 8 pounds or so live by the time we open up the tractors, and we use electric poultry nettings, and they get moved every day. And turkeys will get significantly more of their diet from pasture. They have a lot more instinct still left in them than I think a lot of modern chickens do on being able to range. With that said, we still do feed our custom blend. With turkeys, we grow them on a 26% starter for 3 weeks. So I have increased sunflowers in there, and then we move them to the same 20% once they go outside onto the pasture. But yep, you can get turkeys at homegrownporkandpoultry.com, and I'm all over the place around Western South Dakota.
Okay, any more questions for AJ?
Well,
But,
thank you everybody
AJ,
for joining, and feel
thank
free
you
to
so
contact
much.
me if you have questions. See you, Cindy.
All right.